Hello, my name is Mahesh Balasubramanian. I lead product marketing for Instinct and ROCm at AMD. And today I'm extremely excited to sit with a colleague at Meta, Raghotham Murthy, who is the inventor of Llama Stack and the lead engineer for Llama OSS, as well as partner ecosystem. Raghotham, such a pleasure to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Raghotham, let's start out with the whole alignment between Meta about having an open ecosystem. Right, from PyTorch to Llama, it's such a good engagement with a broader ecosystem that is very open and broadly available. I want to know from you, what does open mean for you?
Interestingly, I've been working in open source for almost 16 or 17 years now. Back in the day when I was at what was called Facebook, I worked on a project called Apache Hive, which was an open source project. And Facebook has been using open source projects like MySQL and Memcache to actually build out its original set of services. And the same kind of continues from the very beginning. And for me, open basically means that you're not trying to hold on to something that is not necessarily your competitive advantage, right? You want to build a broader ecosystem because in some sense, the rising tide kind of lifts all boats. You want to try and contribute to the overall ecosystem so that in some sense, you're kind of paying back because you yourself got started building using open source technologies. And B, also more selfishly, you put something out there, you'll find out that there are other people who have a similar need that will help you improve. And not just by telling you, but actually improving it, and you can just use it. So I think it has like this a really nice dynamic of building something really useful for yourself while also making it so that others can use it and they can also help you back.
Yep, that's a great answer. I think bringing in the ecosystem to jointly develop is something that we say that there's no one company in the world which has all the ideas. So pooling in the ideas is a great way to take a leadership view into moving things forward. So you're the inventor of Llama Stack. Llama is a pretty open ecosystem and a solution that Meta is building out. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about Llama Stack and Llama OSS?
Yeah, and I'll start with Llama, of course, because that came first. Last year, Llama was just opened as a research model, right? So it was the very first time that Meta had actually tried to build a generative model. And as per kind of Meta's original kind of ethos, I guess, we have actually released these weights in the open, and there's actually quite a bit of hunger in the ecosystem for these open weights, because this allows the much larger ecosystem to actually start participating in this AI wave. It's not just constrained to only the companies that have the most money to be able to train these models, right? So that made it so that there are other innovations that are now happening that otherwise would have to only rely on some of these larger companies to kind of even get to, if they get to it at all. So until July, we released the model weights, but then actually using those weights was left as an exercise to the ecosystem. And there are many, many different folks who came in and started using it. And then what we realized was that just putting the weights out there is not enough. There is actually a lot of complexity that needs to be reduced in order to use those models as well. And my sense was that it'll be good for there to be a standard set of interfaces that the whole ecosystem could somehow rally behind, right? So the first thing that we did was just say, okay, we have all of these learnings using Llama models internally ourselves, and we use it reasonably well. As you can imagine, we build really highly scaled applications. We took those learnings and defined a set of APIs. And we, again, in the open source ethos that we have shown, we just put that out in the open. And we saw that there was a lot of interest in trying to build towards these APIs, because otherwise it was getting way too bespoke for everybody to start building something using these models. And that's kind of how Llama Stack got started.
Yeah, I had one last question. So these models look amazing. I'm sure Meta's using them for quite a few things. What's in the future for Llama Stack and Llama models? What can you tell us about it?
For the Llama models themselves, clearly getting better and better capabilities, more modalities. These are all things that are fairly obvious. We don't really talk about exactly what we are working on at this point. But at the same time, Llama Stack, we are actually developing in the open as well, where we initially actually provided the set of capabilities for inference, tool calling, RAG and memory type of applications, as well as safety, as our first set of capabilities that we provided distributions for. And we are going to only expand from there. So things like evals, fine-tuning, synthetic data gen reward model, like all of those types of capabilities are now coming in kind of the next several months in Llama Stack.
That is so great to hear that there's further expansion to the Llama Stack, especially, and the additional capabilities you plan to enable. So it was great talking to you, Raghu. Such a pleasure having you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.